Welcome back, everybody. This is the Natives in America podcast, and you're listening to the host, Benjamin Juan. And with me, as always, is my co-host, Sky Anto. Sound out, brother.
Yo, what's up? How we doing today?
We're doing okay, I think. I think we're doing okay, man.
Crack-a-lackin'.
Crack-a-lackin'. Get it? Crack-a-lackin'. People, welcome back. Tonight's episode, we're going to be talking about hitchhiking. We're talking about hitchhiking, and this is a subject that I think Sky accidentally brought up. Yeah, sort of. Okay, well, I think we were talking about something else, and I was like, all right, let's. Oh, you want to talk about hitchhiking? Oh, I could talk about hitchhiking.
Oh yeah.
For sure, and here we are. So we're gonna go for it.
Just jumping in. So you said you had something to intro it, but I kind of want to intro it. Were you saying you had an intro, or you had like a tidbit? No, I have a lot of thoughts on it.
Okay.
So I would like to hear your thoughts.
All right, so I'm gonna say. Well, let's do like an overview. So, like, first of all, what's hitchhiking like? Like, I think as a kid, I saw some hitchhiking going on in movies. And even one of my favorite old-timey movies was called It Happened One Night. And in the movie, this guy's like saying, like, he's really full of himself, and he keeps saying, oh, I ought to write a book about it. Like, he's always trying to teach this chick he's traveling with. And they're kind of hitchhiking, kind of not. Like, they're taking buses and they're going across country. And he's like, at some point they have to hitchhike. And he's like, all right, well, you know, he starts going through all these like crazy, like, oh, I call this one the get up and go. You know, he does this hitch. He's like, what this thumb represents is you don't care if you get picked up or not. You know, you're out for a good time. And he's just doing like faces and like. He does like all these long, drawn-out thumb representations, and the whole time this chick's like bored and yawning. He's like, "There's a whole art to this thing, and I ought to write a book about it." And then, like in the end, like all these cars are like flying by him, and he's going through all his like his whole like the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, and he's like throwing them out there, and nobody's stopping. And she's like, "You mind if I give it a try?" He's like, maybe I won't write a book about it. Screw this." And this chick goes out, and she just, like, pulls her skirt up a little bit, you know? Flashes a little leg, and, like, the first car, like, slams on his brakes. And, you know, and she's like, sometimes the leg is mightier than the thumb. So she says. And so, like, I saw that early on as a kid. And then eventually, I'm trying to think of when I started hitchhiking. I guess even before I started hitchhiking, I used to see the old-timers hitchhiking. Or maybe not even doing the hiking, they're just hitching, because, like, I usually saw them chilling at, like, a bridge or something in the village, waiting for somebody to pick them up, offer them a ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. So, did you have something to throw on that?
Well, I think before knowing what hitchhiking was, I was being like maybe, I don't even know how young I was, but maybe hitchhiking in a setting where you don't know who's going to take you and kind of being open to a surprise versus maybe you might know somebody, or if someone picks you up, you might know someone that kind of connects you to that person most times. So
that's some red shit right there.
There's some levels to the hitchhiking.
Like, hey, I think we're cousins.
So being young, like a little boy, I just remember jumping, like going to my dad places, and then just jumping in the car with somebody. You know, we didn't know. I mean, I have to say I didn't know who they were, but
it was like, yeah, we're going somewhere. We're going somewhere. It would just be like, yeah, we were, I mean, not all the time, but it was just something that I thought was like common, normal.
Yeah, well, as a kid, right?
Yeah.
Were you guys actually hitching, like walking and throwing a thumbs up, or were you just catching rides with your pops?
I think we were just catching rides. I mean, it wasn't like a long distance. Like we were trying to get somewhere and we didn't have a ride. I think it was just like, oh, we want to go somewhere, or we're going in that direction to sell or someplace. I don't know, but it would just be just kind of get right on the road, and then you say everybody kind of knows everybody, so it wouldn't be that long. So I don't know. I just said, and then also being on the opposite end of it, because with hitchhiking, you could be the giver or the receiver. I mean, you're either driving or getting driven around. I mean, that's one way to see it.
I knew what you meant. It just sounded good,
But also being on the other younger side, seeing where you know you live far, so if someone needs a ride, you're going to give them a ride. But I think there was levels to that too. And even as we got older, I think maybe with Border Patrol or just being more cautious of who you interact with, just kind of changed everything too, where you almost have your guard up with who you're picking up. If you don't know them personally, and I think now that's even more of a thing, sometimes with me but this was before even COVID, where it was like, if I know they're going where I'm going, and I know them, it just, I don't know if it sounds bad saying it like that, but it's like I know where they're going, and they're going where I'm going, so I'm gonna take them, because they need a ride. They're out there, they're right there. I know where they're going, you know. So that is always. I mean, I don't know if you feel the same way about that, but.
I'll say this. You reminded me of my earliest experience, and it wasn't the movie. It was my dad. Like you mentioned, your dad is my dad. Like my dad's the TO out of my two bloodlines. He's the TO, and he. What's funny is I remember it happening more when I was just with him, not like him and my mom. It was usually with him, and I was a little guy, and like if he saw anybody walking on the side of the road, and we were usually either coming from Tucson to Sells or Sells to Tucson, and we'd see people. Like we always owned a van. We usually had vans or like cars. And I was going to say, too, which we can get into later, was like the kind of vehicle you're driving kind of dictates whether you'll pick somebody up, too. But, like, I remember it was a lot more with my dad, and it was usually like, they're walking the same way, we'll pick them up. And like, they're TO, we'll pick them up. They're native, we'll pick them up. You know, it was like, all right. And a lot of times, like you said, like, I don't know this guy. I was a kid. But it usually turned out they knew my dad. And he'd be like, more than happy. Like, get in the back, you know. He'd either have me, I usually was in shotgun or something, and he'd be like, he'd tell them, get in the back, you know. And
I just remember that, like, Dad, so what I'm saying is, like, it happened so often with my dad when I was a kid. Like, I kind of grew up thinking, like, oh, it's the right thing to do is pick somebody up. Whether they're old or young, it's like, oh, let's pick them up and give them a ride. You know? It was your civic duty to swoop somebody up. And apparently, you know, that's some old-timey shit to think. It's an old-timey way to think. Because, you know, that's not how we think now. It's not... Like, oh, this motherfucker better not cough on me. Like, oh, he looks like he's coughing. Don't pick him up. Like, or like we'll slightly slow down and like go by, but we're still going by super fast and like we'll drive by and like, did you recognize him? I was like, I don't know that motherfucker. And we just keep going.
It's pretty bad. So, I mean, I guess from that mindset of like. Jump in, you know, get in the back.
Yeah, get in the back.
Hop in, you know, like, where you going, you know? Versus, like, you know, like, you got a mask, you know, like.
Yeah.
Fully, like, are you fully vaxxed?
Let me see your vax card.
You got your card?
Get your card out. Let me check it. You better have 2 signatures on this thing. I don't know.
Authentic.
If you got the Johnson & Johnson, you're not rolling with me. This better be Moderna, or you're not coming.
So
have your ID and your vax card ready.
I always like I'm late. I'm late. I'm so late I can't pull over.
I gotta spare a second to stop and question this person.
But no, so you know, hearing you talk about that reminded me of a time when, because I think another pastime, I don't know, I don't know if it's still. I mean, I think it still is a place and a thing, but
what?
3 points.
Oh yeah, okay, all right.
That was sort of people get left. People get That was where they were going, and they didn't really plan on how they were gonna get back, or the plans fell through. I don't know, for whatever reason. Somebody you probably are related to or know somebody or just somehow connected to the needs to ride back to the res, and of course we're going that way. But this was a time when one of my younger cousins was staying with us, and he had this thing where he like he just went up to strangers and just started talking to them and just wanted to just have conversations with them like he knew them. And so, like, he did that with like everybody. Like, he just share information. Like, and I think it was more of a concern from my mom, where she's like, you know, you don't know this person, you can't just talk to them like that, or you can't just share. Oh yeah. Oh, this is where we're going. And so, like, we had just went to the movies, and you know, it was like a weekend in town, you know. So we were like, probably I think watch something at the theater. I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but there was popcorn. I remember there was popcorn, and so we're headed home, and you know, there's someone that needed a ride. Yeah. And my mom was like telling my cousins, just like, we're gonna pick up this person. Don't talk to them, like, you know. And I think that's probably for other reasons too, like just like, you know. And of course, as a kid, you're like, what's going on, Mom? And then too, like, you don't always know the state of who you're picking up, you know. Like, so it's just sort of best you don't interact. Yeah. So that's what it's just pretty much trying to tell my cousin. was just a little boy at the time, but it was. She still had to kind of just tell him just because, you know, like, let's work on it, like, you know. So anyways, we pick up the person, they get in the car, you know, we start driving, and then just out of nowhere, my little cousin just starts saying, yeah, we just came back from the movies. Yeah, hardcore. Like, we didn't even leave that far. Like, I think, like, I don't know if we were helping them get stuff in the car or what. Something happened to where there was a moment for him to talk.
He had his opening.
He just couldn't help it. He just, like, pretty much shared everything we did that weekend.
Damn, spilled the beans.
Yeah, it was funny because it was. Well, that's kind of just, you know, that was sort of what happened back in the day. Like, sometimes they might take us, and I'm saying stranger because you didn't know exactly who they were, but you just knew they were awesome and they were going to sales or somewhere before sales. Or at least that's as far, if that's where you were going. And, so, I mean, speaking of hearing you talk about that, reminded me of that story where it's just kind of being, like doing the right thing, but also sort of like, I don't know, I've heard of some other wild stories of where
cautious.
It's just kind of party starts, you know? Or,
you just reminded, so with 3 points, two things came up. I got a story of me picking somebody up, but I also wanted to say, when you were talking about their destination was usually 3 points, I was thinking like, damn, like I bet half the people going to 3 points didn't give a fuck what happened after they got to 3 points. Like, that's the whole point, is to go get some brew, right? Like they're gonna go off the res, which is our nation. Our nation is a dry nation. And I'll just put it this way. My understanding is, those were old ideas. Like, they didn't want the natives drinking their fire water and having an uprising, so they're like, oh, no drinking on the reservations. But like, my understanding is as our tribe became self-sufficient and, you know, tribal sovereignty and all that, I do believe it came before our council to remove that kind of sanction. You know, they had the right to say, oh, we can serve booze on the nation, and they didn't take it. They're like, no, we don't want that. You know? So we remained a dry nation. I want to say that, like, oh, we're not still under, you know, hardcore under the thumb of the, I don't know what they call it, the parent nation. And, so anyway, that's besides the point. What I want to say is, like, the majority of the people we picked up, I've said this statement before, that sweet stench of booze. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, right? That when somebody's been drinking, like, all day long, and then you smell them, and it's like, oh, you just know they're boozing it. Like, it's real sweet. They're brewed out, and it's just like, oh, like, I got these, like, instantly all these memories come flying back to me when I smell that, and it's like, I know I've smelled like that before and didn't even smell it, you know? I couldn't smell it, but people around me could. Well, anyway, what I remember is the majority of those people my dad would pick up, or whoever, you know, throughout my hitchhiking and picking up hitchhiking careers, I've smelled that smell so many times. And a lot of times it was kind of in association with that, like, oh, we got to get out of the village and head to cells to the boots. You know, like, oh, we got to leave cells and go to 3 points. Basically, the 3 points boots, you know, like, there was,
if there ever was a reason to hitchhike, on the res, there was a lot of that going on. Do you agree? You got something to put in that? You've fallen silent here. You're leaving me hanging, and now I'm like, I feel judged.
I'm like, maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, sometimes like people got appointments and they.
Okay.
And they gotta get somewhere, and or their ride fell through, or their ride broke down. I don't know. It's not. They all just working. Only hitchhiking just to get booze.
Oh, bravo, Sky. Leave it to you to keep things on an even keel, man. I like that. Hey, they weren't all boozing.
I mean, but I get some of what you're saying.
Okay. Okay.
As far as like not having access to the booze, and then like, I guess not to get us back on track, but, or off track, however you want to think of it. But,
okay.
I think the further in time we go, there's more of a carefree, sort of optimistic way of seeing hitchhiking.
Okay.
And I think it was even kind of romanticized.
Okay.
And literature.
I think I see where you're going.
American literature, to where it was just this like adventure and kind of just meeting the world, and sort of the world is your oyster kind of vibes. But like hitchhiking also, and like res times is sort of, I don't know if it's the same thing. Or what people wrote about, or like what people did. It's like very rarely in the city do you see someone hitchhiking. I mean, maybe I'm not in the city as much, but like I'm thinking hitchhiking as far as like a long distance. And with the res, it's long. Everywhere it's a drive everywhere. So I'm just saying, like, it feels like there's this hitchhiking that we're kind of talking about, but then I think there's also this hitchhiking of not sort of like not knowing where you're going, but just kind of sort of.
The open road is what you're talking about. The open road.
I think, is that what I'm talking about?
I don't know. You're talking romantically about hitchhiking here.
Yeah, but I'm also saying, like, I think it's kind of different than the hitchhiking we're describing.
Okay, so you're moving on here, is what you're saying. We're going on to
I don't know.
Like maybe the early days of hitchhiking, maybe, or like a period where people were traveling not just to get somewhere, but to experience the open road and maybe crossing country.
Yeah.
The hobo lifestyle, maybe, where you hitch a ride on a train and go state to state, go picking cotton.
I think it's like the kind of being not secluded, but like maybe in a closed environment where now you're ready to just have the world at your disposal. Just kind of, letting a bird out of its cage.
Yeah.
I don't know if res life is that.
Okay. Well, all right.
we tend to bring up movies on here, and there's this movie. Shit, I don't even know. I think it's called Into the Wild.
Okay, yeah.
This guy, he goes out. He's been reading these books, and he's getting all inspired. I think it was Jack Kerouac, maybe. Probably not, now that I think about it. It was the Supertramp. And he's reading this book and getting all inspired. He's learning philosophy. He's got all this trouble at home that, you know, he's not even trying to get involved in. And then at some point in his life, he's like, all right, he wants to take his own shot at life in the world just to see what happens. And so he develops this big plan to go to Alaska. And what's crazy is, like, he has his own car. He has money. He has, he has, I don't know what you would call it, equity. He has value. He has the opportunity and ability to just go to Alaska. But what he decided to do was burn his money and his credit cards and his ID and ditch his car and then just backpack cross country on his way to Alaska. And on his way, he meets all these vibrant, interesting people, maybe a couple of bad people, and it becomes this big romantic, like, obsession between the open road, nature, and maybe even your ability to survive and exist in a world with a minimum amount of need. Like, he didn't need much, you know, he ate when he could, you know, he didn't have a bunch of money, but somehow he still paid for what he needed. You know, in the beginning he invested on, like, some very important tools, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to roll with traveler's checks or have, you know, hundreds of dollars in my pockets just in case. Like I said, in the end, he burned his stuff and then went on this trip. And, where was I going with this? So I'll say, like, what was interesting about this movie, and I really liked it, was like, the movie wound up not being about the destination and what he would do when he got there, which they did cover, but it was more about the travel and the adventure and the interesting people. You know, it became this huge kind of painted this beautiful, like you said, romantic picture of the hitchhiker / hobo / I don't know what you would call it. I'm sure there's some term for somebody who's always on the open road. The rolling stone that gathers no moss. You know, it's a really good movie. If whoever's listening out there hasn't seen it, I'm pretty sure Sky has. The way you're confirmed, like, oh yeah.
What's that?
Have you seen Into the Wild?
No, but I know I heard the soundtrack.
There is a good ass song by Eddie Vedder, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's a cover. Maybe not.
I can't remember because I'm getting this mixed up with another film that Eddie Vedder does music on.
Okay.
But I mean, I guess that what you're talking about is that gone? Like, I mean, I guess it's not gone, like, but it seems like that doesn't, not to say that's not realistic, but I guess.
Well, let me put it this way. I said two things came out of it. One was the movie that I thought about, and the other is I met this guy when I was working in, I don't think I was working. I was living my life down in Ajo, Arizona at the Curly School, which one day I'm sure we'll either have somebody on from the Curly School or we'll bring up the Curly School. But anyway, it's like an artist community. An old primary school that's been turned into apartments in Ajo, and they're part of a coalition of people that are trying to bring business and money back to Ajo. Well, anyway, it was an artist community, and while I was living there, I met this guy, and he made he called it hoboing. Like, he's like, oh man, you need. And he was telling me like, man, you need a hobo sometime. He's like, you seem like a really interesting dude. You seem like this is interesting to you, and like you're a young man. At some point in your life, you should go hobo it. You know, you need to go hoboing. And he was telling me these stories of these fantastic people, and the reason I bring him up is because it was akin to this movie Into the Wild, and he was just describing. You know, I think the way he did it was he was jumping trains and riding in semi-trucks and going to, he was going to like California and I think Florida. It was wherever like hand workers were needed, like farm hands.
Okay.
So farm hands and crop workers. It was like whenever he would like chase the harvest. So it's like if they're pulling oranges in California or Florida, that's where he went. And like he would stay in these like barns with a bunch of other people. He'd make a little cash and then move on. And what he would do is he'd just chase the harvest across the country. Oh, they're harvesting this. He'll go do that, you know. And along the way, and it was the same thing. It was like I didn't really need money. Like I worked for this money, but it was like, I'm going there. And my understanding was it was a time where you could jump on a train and do that. Like, I think they really have hardcore security about that now.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, is that even possible now? And I'm saying I met this guy, and when we were talking about it, I don't think he was hoboing at the time, but when we were talking about it, it was about 2009, 2010. And he's like, man, you're a young man, you should go out and do this. Like, at some point in your life, you need to hit the road. Like if anything, you need to go out and explore the United States. Like, it's bigger than the reservation, and the world's bigger than the United States. Like, you need to get out there. He kept saying that, and he made it seem so interesting. And like that word, I do like it. It's romantic. You find this inspiration / obsession / interest to the open road. You know, there's all this music out there about the open road. There's this picture quality about it, this wonder, and like what we talk about all the time is the unknown, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what this open road offers. It's like there's the unknown, this beautiful concept of mystery. And now you mentioned the pandemic, like it. First of all, I kind of want to hear your opinion. Do you think the hobo life or like hitchhiking is what it once was? Because I'm sure you can still hitchhike on the res right now. I've seen it. I've done it lately. What do you think?
What do I think about?
Well, just the state of hitchhiking right now.
Oh, when I was saying realistic before, it is possible to hitchhike and get a ride. But I think what I meant was it was like to just like that dedicate your life, or not dedicate your life, but to be kind of, I don't know what to describe it as, because I'm lost for the word I should describe it, because it's like, it's not this, it doesn't seem like the same thing, because I don't know, like, it just, I guess to go in that, like to be like, yeah, just to chase the harvest and to kind of know, you almost gotta like be able to know somebody, or not so much know somebody, but it seems like, you know, you really gotta like go all in and really do it, because And maybe because, like, maybe it's just how I feel about being here on the nation. Like, I like to travel. I like to go see new places, but I always want to come back here.
Yeah.
And I think traveling is important. Like, I think you learn things and then you bring it back. And just to have this kind of way of, like, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to be kind of going with it, enjoying the moment.
Yeah.
Not because I support it. Like, I want people to do that. But then I think at a certain point, does it become selfish or?
Ooh, explain that.
Too late, or not selfish, but just like if you have responsibilities and stuff that you need to take care of, and it's more about just kind of living in the moment. I think it's just me feeling conflicted with, like, how we're so Americanized that, you know, we pay taxes, kind of on the schedule. We're just kind of like going with the flow, and to kind of live that type of lifestyle, you almost kind of got to detach yourself from it. But the reason why we're in that flow is because we're trying to be, like, you know, keep our family strong and, you know, keep ourselves living alive. So it just seems like to detach yourself from that, you're also kind of detaching yourself from mentally. You're detaching yourself. Because, I mean, what if you have, like, I'm coming from, like, a broke person. Like, I'm not a millionaire. I would like to be someday, but, like, so, like, just to be like, oh, hey, I'm gonna just not work and, you know, go pick strawberries in Cali when they're in season. You know, like, that's not a good look for me. So, like, it just seems like, I don't know if it's just because it's a native thing or just how I feel, but I'm like, not loving that idea. Like, I like it, I do. I would, maybe just how things are now, like, it's not, I wouldn't want like, any kids just to jump in a car with somebody and be like, hey, go have an adventure, you know, like, learn about the world. That sounds horrible. But in this time, that was kind of like, I mean, not to say, like, everybody was for it, because I think, you know, that was probably what was exciting about it, was there's some, I mean, I'm pretty sure we could talk about a lot of horrible things.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. You're vulnerable playing the hobo or the bum, you know? You're vulnerable.
Ooh. I'm both. I think it goes both ways. Did you watch the Res Dogs?
Reservation Dogs?
Yeah.
I don't think I'm not currently caught up right now, but yeah, I watched like a good. I watched quite a few of them. I think I got as far as like the deer lady.
Yeah, but she was hitchhiking.
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Ooh, okay, we can talk about that, too. We can get into that too, but like, I think you're onto something right now. Like, I don't.
Oh, I was lost in that, man.
All right. From what I'm hearing, let me explain here. From what I'm hearing, you said it goes both ways. There's danger for the driver. There's danger for the passenger. Either person could be dangerous, and I was saying, oh well, you're vulnerable. Yeah. Now you're talking some supernatural legend stuff. So, like, do you want to talk about the dangers, or are we going full? Are we going native here? Are we going native here? Is what I'm asking. Like, this conversation can go two very different ways right now.
I was talking about the. Well, I mean, there's scary stuff that I've heard about hitchhikers.
Okay, like what?
Like you pick them up and then you take them where they're going and they're not there. They disappear.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's that.
They were wearing the sweater they were buried in.
I mean, there's so many movies, too, where...
Dude.
That's kind of how it goes.
I recently watched, I don't know what it was. I like watching some kind of, I always love watching some creepy stuff on YouTube. And there was, I don't know how it got on it, but there was taxi drivers telling stories about picking up passengers that weren't there. Like, and they said it was kind of centered around the time, I think it was in Japan, when like not recently, but like when the Fukushima tsunami happened. Fukushima? Yeah. And I guess, a whole bunch of people died during that time. And then these taxi drivers are saying they could see somebody walking up. Like the camera, like they'd have a camera in the car, and the camera wouldn't see shit, but they would see somebody. Somebody would flag them down or be standing on the road like, hey, come here. They'd pull over. Somebody would get in the car, and then they like, hey, this is where I'm going, and they'd go, right? Or they'd start pulling away. The camera would see the car stop. Nobody's there. The door opens up. The door closes, and nobody's there. And then as they're driving, like a figure will appear and disappear as the lights are going through the car. And then at some point, the driver will look back, and there's nobody back there. That kind of blew my mind, man. They were saying there was a lot of them, like a whole bunch of taxi drivers in Japan, in Fukushima or the area around there, where they were picking up hitchhikers, well, taxi seekers that weren't actually there. So that's real life. Like I've heard plenty of legends. What do you think on that? Like, first,
the stories are just like a lady. Right. And
pretty lady, easy on the eyes.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think it's just a lady.
Okay.
But I mean, I think it's the damsel in distress sort of type.
Oh, okay.
Where then you want to help them. And then, like I said, they go for a ride, and then you're interacting with them, and then it was like it's not really there. like I said, like, I remember one time we gave somebody a ride, and they wanted to be dropped off at this house where they said that they were having a party.
Uh-huh.
And, like, when we got to the house, it was, like, mad dark.
Uh-huh.
And I was just thinking in my head, like, are you sure there's a party here?
Huh.
And, like, so fast that person left the car.
Uh-huh.
Like, not even, like, I don't even remember hearing the door slam. Just kind of just, like...
But did you see him go?
No. Well, they left, but, like, no one walked. It was almost like they didn't even walk to the house that...
Oh, shit.
That they were dropping them off at. But it was, like, late, like 2 in the morning.
Where were you guys headed?
We were going down south.
So from Cells to your village?
Yeah.
And so, where'd you pick them up?
Sort of just kind of leaving Cells.
Like past the hill, or like going up the hill?
Like a little past the hill.
Okay. Guy or girl?
It was a lady.
Okay. Young? Old?
They were young. Like, it seemed real. And I questioned myself, like...
Were you driving?
No, it was, at the time it was my girlfriend.
Okay.
But we picked up somebody, they got in the car, and...
Did they talk to you?
Yeah, they talked to us.
Wait, you said there was a party.
They were talking about a party, and that they wanted cake.
What?
Like, they joked about the cake. Like, yeah, I hope they save you some cake, you know. And so, I mean, that's my experience with. Like, I'm not saying it wasn't anything. I mean, I think it was a real person, but it was just this
strange.
Them leaving so quickly, and the house not even being like anybody was there, and just kind of yeah.
Wow.
So
I'm sitting in a car in California, and I'm creeped out. I'm creeped out right now. I'm looking in my mirrors. I'm looking around like, dude.
I was hesitant to share because it's freaky.
It is freaky, man. I'm freaked out right now. Tell me this. Do you remember where this house was?
I think so.
Is there still a house there? Now? Like how long ago was this?
It had to have been maybe 2000.
Wow.
Were
you still in high school?
No, it was after that. It had to be maybe 14. Maybe.
2014.
Yeah.
Ooh.
But, yeah, it was just kind of freaky.
And you didn't recognize this person?
Yeah.
Do you remember what they were wearing?
Nah, it was just, you know, it was weird. it was like they walked wherever they were walking from. There's like all the animals were following them.
What? What do you mean?
Like like there was some dogs and then like some cats. Like if you were to walk from your house and all the house pets would follow you.
That is creepy. I mean, I used to have dogs, and wherever I went, they went too. Mm-hmm. And that's some straight up res shit. So, you have free roaming dogs and they follow you. Like, that's some res shit right there. But so I guess it's not uncommon. But if they were headed to the village and let's say they lived there, then there's no reason these dogs should have been following them. But at the same time, maybe they were leaving their house and their dogs followed them out. That's weird that cats would do that. That's I think you had an experience.
I don't know. I kind of forgot when we mentioned hitchhiking. That, but yeah, that I might have just been a weird just timing of things, but
yeah.
That's hitchhiking.
Maybe we'll talk about it somewhat later on off the podcast, but I would like to know if you're still in contact with this person, and if you are, I want to hear what they remember. But anyway, wow, I'm creeped out. I'm genuinely creeped out, and I wouldn't be surprised if the people who are listening are a little creeped out themselves. Just that little detail that they were being followed by all these animals, that's, we're always talking about, on all these creep show stuff that I watch on YouTube, they always talk about how animals can sense things that we can't. They're aware of, stuff that's there that they can see or hear and we can't hear it or see it. I genuinely believe you had an encounter. I don't know. So on that note, as a kid, and I had to be under 12 because I still lived at that teacher's complex behind the old high school. And I had this buddy, he passed away now, but I had this buddy and he was a little bit older than me and my buddies. And we used to hang out all the time together, we'd hang out like kids. It was pre-drinking, pre-smoking, all that, we were kids. And we used to try to camp out in the yard or, nearby, and we'd, this guy, he'd come over, he was a little older than us, and we'd have him, tell us ghost stories. Mm-hmm. And he'd always talk about, there was skinwalkers, he'd talk about skinwalkers, Slender Man, and then the hitchhiking lady. And what I remember about the hitchhiking lady was he'd always say this figure would appear on a desolate road, a classic story. I'm sure this isn't just the Res story, but desolate road, lady appears, they pick her up, they give her a ride, and if they're a good person, the thing or whatever it is, the entity would just thank them for the ride and get out. But if they were this horrible, awful person, their car would be found later and they'd be dead with no explanation. Or they'd just disappear. And, or, somebody saw them, picked them up, and then they disappear, and they're like, oh, well, this is the last time I saw them was they were picking up this lady or this person.
And I think that was kind of what that deer woman, like, I'm sure the tribe has another name for it, but like this spiritual entity that is hunting bad people or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know their legends, so I can't speak on it, but what it appeared to me was it was Judgment Day come for these bad people.
Mm.
And, you know, that's kind of goes along the story that I heard from this guy. He's like, you know, if you're good and nice, if you're good and decent to this person that you pick up, you'll see another day. You know, it's usually at night, usually on a deserted road, middle of the night, a lady appears, give them a ride, and boom. If you're decent and kind-hearted or something, you're nice, you'll see another day.
Ooh. Yeah.
This whole podcast took a different turn.
You reminded me of another story, but it's maybe not as scary, but just kind of...
Go for it.
It was the same, the place where you lived, I lived.
Uh-huh.
But this was like, it had to be when I was in high school.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, we knew kids at the rental, and
yeah.
And we were going that side, and a lot of people knew where we lived. So when it was when the carnies, remember the carnival back in the day? It was during the carnival time, and it would be like, I think it was like late one night, you know, we're like shutting down, everybody's saying we're going home, and these kids that lived in the rentals needed a ride, but they didn't ask us. Like,
what?
Like I didn't know they needed a ride.
Uh-huh.
I didn't even like I thought they were just talking with us, like just like chatting it up, like just being nice.
Yeah.
So like my mom was talking with the kid, you know, and then we, you know, got in the car, and like we were talking the whole way from the fairgrounds to the house.
Uh-huh.
Like just stuff who we saw, what we did, you know, just the whole, you know, just that family combo about what we did at the rodeo, and getting down at the pad.
Yeah.
We all get down, and then suddenly that kid pops out.
What do you mean?
The kid that we were talking to at the carnival, like, as we were getting in our car, there was a kid that lived in the rentals that was just, like, we thought he was just hanging out talking with us, but he jumped in the car.
What?
And he was so quiet that and so, like, just cool about it that, like, we didn't even notice. We were just talking. Like, we were so hyped about the carnies that we just were talking, and, you know, my mom was driving. He didn't say anything.
Wait.
And then, what?
Wait, are you saying you started a conversation in the parking lot and got in the car with him and continued your conversation to your bill?
No.
Or you started a conversation in the parking lot and then you thought it was over, you got in the car and he was silent, and then you get to the bill and then he hops out and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
But you remember, so, like, at the carnival, there's the parking lot behind, like, the rides.
Yeah.
So it was almost like this kind of like, you're still not in the carnival, and if you're standing in this area. So I just assumed, like, he was seeing us leaving and just was like, oh, hey, you guys, see you guys later. And
what?
And just it was, like I said, like, I still freak out about it because I'm like, how could we not know this guy jumped in the car with us? And then, but it was only from the fairgrounds to
the cells.
So it was like,
okay,
like a little, like, maybe like this 8-minute drive. I don't know.
Yeah. I knew you said that, but I was still thinking of SK.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I hope he would have said something if we went all the way to SK.
Yeah, that's like that little story where you get a phone call and it's like, I'm in your house. You're like, where the fuck are they? You know, like he didn't say a word, just rolled with you.
Yeah, but check this out. So, like, I think if he would have asked, we would have dropped him off at his house. Like,
yeah.
And, like, all right, he needs a ride. But the fact that we just drove home, we were like, we didn't know he was in the car.
Was this SUV? I mean, like, yeah. I'm trying to conceptualize this. You were chilling in the front seat, and he was in the back seat, or somebody else was driving, and you were in the back seat.
My mom was driving. I had to be in the passenger. Then my bro, and then I think it was my cousin. But like,
and where was this guy?
I don't know. That's what I don't. What? I freak out about because when we got down, then he just pops out of the car like where the hell did you come from? And what was funny was not funny. It was, well, I guess it was kind of funny, but he was like, "I'll just walk home from here." You know, like,
what the fuck?
You know, he didn't live too far from. Well, like I said, the rental was just right there. Wherever his house was like in walking distance, but it was like, you know. Like, I don't know if he was like knew he was just sneaking a ride, or like maybe he thought he asked and we said yeah, but like if we knew, we would have dropped him off at his house. But it was just like, it was a weird going into the house after that. Cause it was like, that was weird. Like,
holy fuck. Okay, brother.
Yeah. Hello?
I'm tripping the fuck out.
Oh man, sorry, man.
No. All right, so I'm in the parking lot at this hotel. I'm in the car, and there's this giant freaking. My heart's pounding. There's this, like, suburban parts next to me. Pitch black ass windows. And earlier when I first came out here and sat down, I saw, like, the lock lights go off on the car. You know when you, like, click the buttons and their lights blink? So I was like, okay, somebody saw me go to the car, and then they're like, oh, we're going to lock up our car. But just now, at the end of your story, I guess reverse lights or the real lights came on the back of this car, and their windows are pitch black. I can't see through the window. But then the freaking light in the car comes on, and this guy / lady sits up. And I can't see her face. They had their back to me, and I'm like,
oh shit!
I'm like, there was somebody in the car next to me this whole fucking time, or maybe they aren't. Like I just now saw their face, but it was like we're both in the parking lot, like in the neighboring cars.
Yeah,
I just got creeped the fuck out.
And we're talking about,
dude, this person is either sleeping in their car.
or they just materialized to freak me out.
Damn.
And their windows are so fucking pitch black that until their inside light, their cabin light came on, I never would have seen them. They could have been sitting there staring at me. I don't even know if they know I'm in this car, but it's like, I'm creeped out. We gotta move on here. Okay, all right. So this kid, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm like, I'm on edge here. There's somebody in the car next to me. You were creeping me out, and I was looking in my mirrors, like left and right, and turns out I should have been looking in the car next to me. Dear God. And they just got back in the car, and the lights just went out again. I don't know what. Anyway. I'm just going to ignore that and just act like it doesn't freak me out. Like, obviously, there's somebody over there. Now I know. Alright, sorry. Can we get back to your story? So they didn't say anything. They jumped out, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, I'll just walk home. We'll see you guys later."
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know about that. Like,
and this is like, man, it's nighttime, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
well, yeah.
Like,
kind of like they appeared in the parking lot too, right? Like, hey, where'd you come from? Well, hey, like you knew him, right? You knew this person.
Yeah, I mean, not well, like not.
Jesus.
Not to where I'm like, I know the ride situation, you know?
They died the year before that.
I mean, like, you know your cousin, you're like, hey, you know who they got a ride with, you know?
They've been dead for 10 years, and then you gave them a ride.
I don't know. I don't think it was like that. I think it was just sort of like, I know where you're going. I just got to get there with you.
All right, but I still can't visualize this. Was this like a 4-seater, I guess you could say 5-seater car? Like was your cousin and your bro in the back seat with this person and nobody's talking to him? I still can't see it.
Maybe it was like he was in the second row and he just kind of just.
So there was an SUV.
I think that's what it was.
And another row in the back, and this person just slipped in.
Mm.
Jesus. That's some red shit to do. I don't know if that's red shit, but it just seems red shit. Like, oh, I know you guys are going where I'm going. I'm just gonna hop in.
Yeah, it might be red shit. Yeah. But that was always something that was sort of freaky.
Wow.
It's almost like not knowing hitchhiking.
Wow.
Not knowing someone's hitchhiking.
That was kind of a form of hitchhiking, don't you think? Like.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. It's hitchhiking, but you don't know. I mean, the person that's giving you a ride don't know you're giving them a ride. Have
you seen that person since?
No.
It's because they were dead already for 10 years. I'll agree. That is some freaky. Maybe not necessarily this ghost person that you took to a dead party, a party of dead people, but a ghost party. But that's up there. That's up there. You said it wasn't as freaky, but that's in my mind.
It was freaky, but just maybe not as scary.
In my mind, that goes in line with like the man with the hook, you know, like they're like, oh, we found the hook hanging on the back door, like he was there the whole time. You know, he's in the trunk and you don't know it, or he's been trying to choke you the whole time, but the car pulled up behind you is blinking their lights and honking their horn, and you're like, oh, there's somebody following me, but really they were trying to signal that the guy was in your back seat trying to strangle you, but every time he sat up, they blinked their lights and honked their horn. That's some freaky shit. It's up there. It's up there. Maybe I'm a big old scaredy cat, but I'm freaked out. and I can feel this person looking at me through these blackened windows in the next car. Are you there? You still there?
Yeah. Did we tell the audience that you're in the car?
I don't think we announced it, but
I
said it. I said it. I'm in the car at a hotel in California. I'm saying it now. I guess is it was too loud in the room that I was in. I was gonna try to record in the back corner, and then I was picking up their movie they were watching on the mic. So I was like, hey, maybe I can go to the car. And here I am, kind of freaking myself out now.
And we're talking about ghost stories in the car.
I know. I kind of want to look in the back seat now. You always look in the back seat. I'm looking right now. Like there's nobody in the back seat. I've now confirmed there's nobody in the back seat with me. At least in this car. The car next door, I can't. I now know there's somebody in the car next door in the back seat.
Watching.
Yeah, maybe I should warn these people. Maybe they don't know they have a passenger just chilling out in their car, just waiting for them to leave tomorrow. I'm genuinely creeped out. They have pitch black windows and I can't see in that car, but this person got in, he sat up, got out of the car, looked at the front of the car, then got back in the car, and then disappeared into the light again. It's like, okay. Okay, where are we going with this? Damn it, I lost track because I'm all tense. Okay.
Do you have any?
Well, I was trying to think about it. I've definitely seen things on the road, but they've never gotten in my car, you know? Like, as a kid, I always kind of had this, third sense, fifth, sixth sense. You know, like I was aware. I don't know how to describe it. Like, I was kind of in tune, and I think as I gotten older, I've kind of gone out of tune or kind of ignored it. But, since I've been getting into creepy stuff, I feel like I'm opening myself back up to it. Because, I think I've said it before, I'll be creeping myself out on YouTube, and then, I'll start walking, I gotta use the restroom, so I'll get up and, go into our hallway, and all the lights are off, and I'm about to step in the bathroom, but I don't quite step in there until I turn the light on, I gotta search it for this mystery person that wasn't invited, but now they're there, and I kind of tell myself, well, our house in Coalfields, we were the only tenants that have ever lived in it, because it was a brand new house built by, whatever contractor was coming through with the tribe. But so I don't worry about that. But then there's a 2-cent house we stay at, and it belonged to this guy before us, and he passed away. And he passed away in the house, and I swear I wasn't even aware of it. I wasn't thinking about it because I also watch the same crap when I'm staying up there. But I'll be up there and I'll hear things. I'll be the only one in the house, and I'll hear stuff in the back, in the back rooms. There's a bunch of rooms, and in the back rooms I don't really go because they're not my rooms. So I don't mess with them. But then there'll be a loud noise, and it's okay, that's just loud enough to not be settling house, it's not, it's loud enough that something had to be knocked over. Something had to fall off a shelf. It's too loud to just be nothing, but I ignore it. And I remember, my sister's dude, before he passed away, he would talk to the guy. He knew the guy's name, and I remember it too, but I don't even say his name. But he used to talk to him. They'd hear shit, and then he'd talk to the guy. He'd say his name, hey, quit it. Hey, knock it off. Hey, pipe down back there watching a movie or something. He'd joke. Or I don't know if he was joking. My sister's dude was a different kind of dude. I liked him for that. Now there's more people walking around in the parking lot. It's fucking late. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm saying I've opened myself up to, I guess, the other plane. Like we've talked about this in other episodes, like the fourth dimension, where they're the same place at the same time, but not. And that's kind of how I started explaining, you know, spiritual stuff, the phenomenon of ghosts.
Yeah.
And whatnot. It's like, yeah, they're existing here, but we don't see them. They're in the same space, but they're not. They're in another level, like another plane. And so I feel like that's what you're describing with these hitchhikers and mystery people.
But you know, I mean, now I'm kind of also thinking about other weird occurrences.
With hitchhikers or in the car?
Maybe driving and seeing people on the road. Or I just remember seeing. So I was like, I forgot all about this, but just us talking about like maybe second guessing yourself as we're in the car, or being caught off guard.
Yeah.
But I remember it was like when I first started driving, and more in cells, more in on the road versus like the real dirt road. It's like actually going on the highway and the other small roads, wherever. And I remember this one time. I can't remember where it was. Honestly, it might even been Little Tucson, but like I was driving and I seen these kids in the rear view, and like just me being like seeing these kids, really looking at them, I just got the sense that it was like myself, me and my brother, like when we were younger. And like, you know, when you see something in the rear view and it's getting smaller and smaller, kind of going away.
Yeah.
It was just sort of weird, like seeing yourself. Well, do you ever not so much see yourself in another person, but just kind of be like, oh, that reminds me of when I was younger. Maybe that's what it was, but I was so young to be like how, I guess how much time has not passed, and I don't know, it just seems like that's something you would see as you got older, or you put yourself in another person, like a kid, you know, like, oh, that's how I used to resemble, or you kind of, the mind can do crazy things, you know, what?
No, I'm just agreeing, like, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, anything could be anything, and if you believe it, you're kind of bought in, and I always think about that. I mean, I don't always, like, I forgot about it, but I remember I always used to kind of just, like, was that real, or was that just me tripping? And I was just seeing two kids that looked like me and my brother, and it was exactly the same.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't know, sometimes driving is sort of...
The security guard just walked by. I think he's taking pictures of cars now.
Or like cars that are parked illegally.
Maybe. I think there's a lot of activity in this fucking parking lot. There's a podcast going on in this one. I got a ghost in the car next to me, and there's people arriving, and the security guard just showed up and started taking pictures of cars.
Dang.
You know, you're talking about the mind playing tricks on us, and maybe that's all it is. Maybe I'm not in tune with anything, and I'm just letting my mind get away with me. You know? Am I making up these loud bangs in the house? And it's because I'm watching creepy shit, and that's all it is to it? I know quite a few people, including my baby's mama, that like don't just they believe in it so much, that type of stuff, that they won't even mess with it. Like if they're watching a movie and suddenly there's demons in the movie, they're like, all right, I'm out. Like, no, I'm good. You know, or, you know, any kind of talk of demons or whatever, like the supernatural, they're like, okay, I'm out, peace out. I don't want to watch this. I'll see you later. You know, like, you know, like they believe in that so much, and like I'm kind of on the fridge where I think it's more of the unknown and that interests me. Why I watch this stuff. Like I'm really interested in it. It's like it's so easy to look at the world around us and just go, oh, it's all known. This can all be explained. That the world kind of becomes a small place. Like there's nothing going on. There's nothing about it. There's nothing special about the world around us. And then when you come across something that you just absolutely can't explain, then it's this interesting mystery. It puts the beauty and mystery back into the world that seems so small and just completely known. Where there's no new frontier. There's no newness in the world. And then when I come across something I can't explain, it's like wow, it piques my interest, it creeps me out, and I enjoy it. So it could totally just be our brain fucking with us, you know? It has that ability. Like what's even cooler, which is kind of cool, is like some of the more powerful drugs that people take are, you know, like mind-bending drugs like DMT or MDT or whatever it's called. That is a light version of what the brain is capable of making and producing. And it's part of what makes us dream. Like when we start tripping and seeing all this incredible stuff in our dreams, it's that chemical that our brain makes naturally. So, you know, our brain totally has the capability of just completely twisting our minds. And I might just be a victim of my imagination, you know? Like, I creep myself out watching videos, and then I go walk in the room, and, you know, there's something walking a little too close behind me in a dark hallway, you know? It's like,
yeah.
Maybe I'm in tune to nothing. But
I don't know. It's just like the power of, you know, what you consume.
Yeah.
Too.
It's kind of like suggestion.
Yeah.
All right. To bring us back to hitchhiking, I mentioned how you treat the mystery hitchhiking lady kind of determines whether or not you see another day. I kind of want to talk about how you treat hitchhikers. You know what I mean? Like I've been like held hostage by hitchhikers, like not at gunpoint or anything, but it's like I'll pick somebody up and I'll tell them like, look, like, first of all, I see it as like a favor or like a good Samaritan move to give somebody a ride, right? And then I tell them before they even, the door's locked or whatever, and before they even get in my car, I'm like, all right, listen, I'm going to drop you off at Bashas'. I'm going to drop you off right in Cells. I got places to go, and I need you to get out of my car at Bashas', and, I'll give you a ride right now, no problem. And they go, oh, yeah, no problem, yeah. And then we get to Cells, and they're so happy or elated to be there, they start getting greedy. And they're like, I just live down the road. You take me there? And I'm like, bitch, we made an agreement. Like, we had this verbal agreement, and now you're getting greedy. Like, I already did you this big favor. I drove you 30 miles. Now you need to get out of my car where we agreed at so I can be on my way. But instead, they're like, just take me down the road. Take me down here. Take me over here. And it's like, I feel like I've been held hostage like that. Like, they're like, they won't get out of the car. They're just like, just a little, it's just a little ways. And then I've even been like, I've been treated like a prick. Like, they're like, man, you're fucked up. You won't even take me like another mile. You took me all this way. You won't take me another mile. And it's just like, oh my God, get the fuck out of my car. Like, this is why I don't pick up hitchhikers kind of thing. Like, you're fucking it up for the rest of them. How do you feel about that? Like,
I have a relative that can just really stretch it out. Like, where he's going,
Yeah.
It's up the road, and it's like, let's try this other house, and hey, can we check on this? And can we go pick up my girl?
Oh my God. Okay, yeah.
Like, you ask one thing, but that opened up all these other things.
Oh my God, yeah.
And it almost was like, was that the intention the whole time?
Oh my God, yeah, probably.
You just kind of ask the simple task, and then as you're doing that task, you throw in all these other tasks. But like, I'm thinking of the truck. If you got a truck, you just get in the back, and then when it's time to go, you just jump out, get in the back. But you're talking.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
You're talking about like almost saying, "Hey, I'm only going to this far," and then when you get there, they're like, "Oh no, take me. You can take me over here. Take me over there."
Yeah.
Over taking more. Or they say you ask for an inch and they take a foot.
Yeah.
It's almost like, what can I ask and I get away with? But I think too, like, sometimes maybe they're not going. They're going farther than you're going. So
they're going right and you're going left. It's like, all right, time to get out now.
Like this is as far as I go.
Mm.
So that's always not to say it happens all the time, but
it happens a little too much.
It's an understanding to where it's like, you got some of the distance covered.
What's a trip? What's a trip is like the difference between a pickup and an SUV or a car. Is like, if they're in the back of your truck, they're practically like cattle or luggage or something. It's inhuman, and they're like, all right, get in the back. They get in the back, and then you go, all right, get out, and they get out. It's so much harder when somebody's sitting in the car next to you and they can open the door or not. They open the door. It's like they've been spoiled by the luxury of the inside of your car. And now it's like, hey, and you got to look them in the eye, and they're like, hey, you take me a little further, and you got to go, no, we had an agreement. It's easier to tell somebody to get the fuck out
when they're in the back of your truck. But if they're sitting next to you, sitting shotgun, and you guys just talk the whole way, and now you're buddies, supposedly, you know, it's like, oh yeah, just a little further. I'm like, I said Bashes, and they're like, oh yeah, but I'm like where? And then they go, oh, where are you going? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if you're going to Tucson, like, my house is on the way. It's like, no. You know, like, oh my God, guys. So you hitchhikers, if you're listening, take what you're given and get the fuck out. Like, damn. Don't get greedy now. You ruin it for the rest of the next hitchhiker I pick up or don't pick up is gonna, their experience is gonna be based off of the experience I had with the last person. You know? Are you with me on that? Like, where are you at? Where do you fall in this? Like, you're a very nice person, and I can see you not telling somebody to get the fuck out of my car.
Well, you know, maybe I'm not such a nice person.
Yes.
Because I remember when I first got Audible, and I was like, I mean, I'm kind of slacking on some of my audiobooks, but like for a while, man, I was like, that was a part of my routine. I would like get up early, and that's another thing too in the morning where you kind of like want to have that preparation, you know, like when you got a passenger, you're mindful of what they're listening to.
Yeah.
So, ain't no hitchhiker want to listen to my audiobook, you know? So, like, in my head, I'm like, they ain't fucking up my audiobook time. As I get ready for work, so fuck you, like, I'm not picking you up. like, saying that, I don't sound so nice, but, like, I think that's just that. Like, people like to be in their cars, grooving on their own, chilling, you know, unwinding or, you know, getting ready for the day. And just, you know, to suddenly, hey, somebody asking to get taken to all these other places, it's like, no. But I think you're describing a not so good passenger versus maybe what is good etiquette for a hitchhiker.
Well, there's obviously an agreement struck. Well, I don't know. Again, that's the difference with a pickup. It's just like, get in the back. And they get in the back. You just get in the back. There's no...
Okay.
You know, there's no like, hey, where you going? Like, like, I mean, if you know your business as a person who picks up hitchhikers, that SUV just pulled out. I don't know what's going on. This is a very active parking lot. I think people just ditched right now. Like, they had all their luggage and they're leaving at, what is it, like midnight right now? 11 o'clock? Anyway, if you're a hitchhiker person, or a person that picks up hitchhikers, and I wanted to point this out. You were saying, I'm not so nice. At the same time, you were saying you're considering what they want to hear, and it's like that. In my mind, it's like, who cares what they want to hear? They're in my car, like. But you're like, maybe they want to hear some audio slave. You know, like,
hey, here's the aux, man. Play what you want.
Oh God, yeah. So, but yeah, like that's the thing. Like you said, etiquette. Like there's usually a verbal agreement. Like I'll crack the window and be like, "Where are you going?" They're like, "Oh, Cells." Like, all right, I'll take you as far as Bashes. They're like, "All right." I'm like, "Okay, get in." Boom. That's an agreement. You struck a verbal agreement. There's no like, oh, I'm gonna edit this Like, at that point, if you add miles to the agreement, this is like ass, cast, or grass kind of moment right there. It's like, hey, no, you need if you want more, you gotta give more, sucker. Like, you just broke the agreement here. You're breaking the rules here. You know, like, whoa, bucko, like, it's time to go.
It's kind of like it's not a detailed transfer. It's a very dull, just go out and walk versus like, we're going to take you to a bus stop, or I'm going to make sure that you're safe. Like, there's no regards to where they're going. You're just kind of like, fly free.
Yeah.
Get out of my hair.
Yeah. Get in, get out. I'm going to stop. You better get out. What kind of cracks me up is this, like, damn it, I had a thought.
I'm trying to think, like, I guess you can be entertaining. You might have a good story. Or
you the hitchhiker, or you the driver should be entertaining.
The hitchhiker, like, asking for it, right? Like, you might just have a nice tale, and that sort of makes the transaction like, oh, we're good, or like, almost like they left with something.
This sounds like Halloween, man. You're getting trick or treat here. Like, hey, you want to hear a story? I'll give you a ride for a story. This isn't Smoke Signals where we barter for a story here. We'll give you a ride.
Let me recite you a poem.
Yeah, right. And
then you'll tell me if I deserve the trip or whatever. I also think too, like, no, they don't need to give you nothing.
Yeah, no, I don't really expect that. My thinking here is the alternative to getting picked up. When you're hitchhiking, it can be all hiking without a hitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's been plenty of times where, like, I'll get on the road with some buddies, and a minute, you know, we don't even walk a mile in a pickup truck. You know, it's usually the pickup truck you get lucky with. They're like, get in, and you get in. You know, like, and who knows? You know, that could be that could be Leatherface. He's about to go turn you into a skin lamp. What I'm saying is, like, there's been times where I'll get on the road and we won't walk a mile, and boom, we got a ride and we're on our way. And then there's other times where there's cars, there's a ton of cars and trucks, and nobody picks you up, and you're just mobbing. You're just like, all right, it's all. This is the hiking part, and you just hike it. So my feeling, like I may be sounding like an asshole, and sure, I sound like an asshole all the time, but what I'm saying is, I'm doing you a favor here. Like, I just saved you 30 miles of walking, or you know, hours in the sun waiting for somebody to pick you up. So, first of all, you should be grateful, which usually when I'm on the other end of that, hitchhiking, I'm grateful for that ride. It's like, oh, thank God, I don't got to do the hiking part. You know, it's like you should be grateful. And then on top of that, you shouldn't cause any headache for this person. So, like, I feel like it's a headache when you get to cells and they're like, oh, you know, take me further. I'm like, man, this was the agreement. Get out. Like, stop. Stop yourself, sir.
Renegotiating the...
Yeah.
Where they're getting dropped off.
Yeah, you didn't read the fine print, man. Like, get out. But that's the whole thing. Like, it's like you just did them a favor, and now they're causing you a headache. And I think all the appreciation and all that just goes out the window. It's like, all right, you're making me regret pick you up, and I might not pick up the next person because of this experience.
Yeah.
So in a way, they're screwing up the next person too.
I'm trying to think of other times where maybe we pick somebody up or got. I haven't hitchhiked in a long time.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a while.
Like needing to go somewhere and there's no ride, so I think that would be. I think that was like back in the day, like you had to get to cells, but everybody that was working was already in cells, and you're trying to get there by 5 or by a certain time. You just hop on the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think like that though, where I don't want to pick nobody up because I'm in my zone.
Yeah, yeah.
But also too, maybe I don't want to have that awkward. We just discussing where you're getting dropped off.
Yeah. Jesus. Here, I got another scenario for you. Are you done?
No, well, I think it's always like when you headed back.
Oh my God!
Like let me get you on the foot. You're coming back this way.
Damn! Like I said, like, hey, how far are you going? That is like, hey, I'm not offering any more information to help you hold me hostage even more. Like, it's time to go, buddy.
Yeah.
I've gotten like heated arguments, like at least once. I don't know the guy, but I can see his face in my head right now. I'm like, I've gotten in like a heated argument where they're like, it was almost like I owed him something. Like, man, it's just up the way. Like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, whoa, get out of my car. I already drove you 30 miles. Like, you need to get out. And they're like, what the hell? It's just right there. Like, just take me other. If it's just right there, start walking. You know, it could have been 35 miles plus that distance, and now it's just that distance. Get walking. Like, this is the hitch part. Or this is the hiking part. At least do your hiking. You know, like I've gotten in debates where it was like, Jesus, guy, you need to move on. You're talking to the wrong guy, and I'm not telling you when I'm coming back. Like, no. Like, hey, I'm gonna be shopping for like maybe half an hour, an hour. When are you going back? Like, nope.
Damn.
Next thing I know, I'm taking you to the boots, and you're not buying me a 40? What? Where's my 40? Oh, you just want to get your 40s? You better be breaking with your 40s. You know? That's the red shit coming out of me right there. Like, ew. If I'm taking you to the boots, you better be grabbing me a 42. Huh. I got another scenario for you here.
Yeah. Shoot it.
Let's say this guy or girl hops in your car. And this is more important in the car. Like, if they jump in the back, this does not apply. Say they hop in your car, and I already mentioned the sweet booze smell, but what about the other tangy smell? What if they hop in your car and they stink like shit? And, you know, when they approached your window, their ass was pointed the other way. You didn't see anything, but then they get out of your car, and maybe there's a fresh stain on your seat, or maybe they get out of your car, but your car still smells like them. Like, they get out of your car, there's no argument. Or maybe they get in your car, you start driving, and the next thing you know, you're like, oh,
you also stink like shit. Like, you're like, hey, you stink like shit, get out of my car. It's never been like that. I've had that happen several times, but I never said, like, ew, you stink, get the fuck out of my car. It was like, like, I regret this now in my head.
Yeah.
You know, like, I regret this, and they get out, and your car still smells like them. It's like, oh, God, I'm never going to get this smell out. What do you think about that? Has that happened to you?
I mean, like I said, it's been a while, but like I get what you're saying. It's just funny because I mean, that's kind of the risk of hitchhiking.
Yeah.
When you're picking somebody up, you don't know the stench.
Yeah, maybe the wind was blowing. Maybe the wind was blowing, and when you opened your window, it didn't come in. It just blew away. Then they hop in your car, and then you just smell ass.
Well, you don't really say, well, let me smell you.
Yeah. Hey, do you smell? Have you shit your pants in the last 24 hours? Before you get in my car, can you answer this quick questionnaire? Maybe you should. You know, if you're going to be going out hitchhiking, you should have a prepared questionnaire. Here, fill out this paperwork. I'm going to give you a clipboard. I'm going to need my pen back. Here's a clipboard. Answer these questions, and if you answer them correctly, I will unlock my doors.
So, I guess with it being sensitive on my end, if just being precautious or whatever, I lay out a little, I don't know, cover where
throw a towel down.
Something. Like
now, is this before or after you smell their shit? Like,
I guess.
like hey,
kind of just like this is where you sat and like no. See, like you were talking about, it's like damn. That's why I was like, you're agreeing to take me somewhere.
Yeah.
But now you don't want my smell either.
Yeah.
But you're not willing to accept me for my smells either.
Well, check it out. In my experience, there was maybe like one or two younger guys that smell like shit. But what it was like, when I usually smelled it, it was because I was picking up an elder. And it's like, I see an elder walking down the road. I don't want them, on the road all damn day. I was like, oh, man. Or maybe they got groceries. And they're walking. You're like, hey, I'll give them a ride. Like, hey, you need a ride? Like, oh, that's fucked up. I don't like seeing an elder, especially somebody from my village. Like, hey, I don't want you walking. Hop in the car. I'll give you a ride home. Like, I know where you live. But, like, I think that was the worst. Is like a few of them, or maybe they've been doing the hiking, and now they got a whole thing of like ball soup and ass sweat going on, some butt juice going on, and now they get in your car and they smell like ass. Like the thing is, I've had elders get in my car and they'll fucking reek to high heaven, but they're an elder. And I'm not, I may be a prick, but I'm not that big a prick. It's like, all right, well, I'm just going to breathe out of my mouth from now, from here till cells, like, I'm just going to ignore this scent and, get you where you're going here, pal.
Yeah.
Like that, the majority of the time I've smoked ass and knew it was going to be in my car, it was like, this is happening. I was like, all right, well, they're an elder. I'm going to give them a benefit of the doubt. And B, I'm certainly not going to call them out on it and be like, hey, you stink like shit. Like, hey, have you showered today? Like, nothing like that. It's like, all right, well, this is my reality now.
Yeah. Well, that's like the...
the luck of the draw.
Comes to the territory.
Yeah.
You're inviting people into your car.
Yeah. That's it's practically humanitarian work. Hooking up people with rides.
And with that comes responsibility, I guess. With great car comes responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
So, I mean, I guess not caring.
Yeah.
About the smell, but
jeez,
I don't know. That's I feel like that's another topic.
What if they're like a triple threat? They're in your car, they stink like shit, and they want you to take them to their girlfriend's house to pick her up. I've had somebody say, "Let's go pick up my girlfriend and go to the booths." And I was like, "You should have been out of my car 10 minutes ago. You need to get out. Like, stop." Like, who does this work on? Who do you just ask these types of things of anybody, and that's why you're coming at me? Like, earlier I was having this conversation with my sister, and we were talking about mentalities that you grow up with, and how it kind of shapes your personality, and like maybe the life you live. And we were talking about the differences between my mom and my aunt. And what it was like my mom wouldn't dare ask for more. So in her life, if she and you know, in anybody's life, if you don't ask for what you want, then you're not going to get it. You know, you're never going to get what you don't ask for. And then for some people, it's like, well, if I ask, they could say yes. You know, so my aunt is one of the askers. She'll ask. And you can say no to her, but she's going to ask in case you say yes.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how when you grow up in a certain kind of lifestyle, like say, we were talking about growing up poor. And it's like when you grow up poor, we grew up poor. So we were talking like, oh, well, and we were talking about certain traits that we had because of it. And I was like, all right, maybe her example that she said was like, if you tell a kid, oh, we can't get that, we can't afford it, you know, and she was saying like how it has to do with how you express it too. You can either say, oh, we can't get that, we can't afford it, or hey, we can't get that now because we can't afford it now, but maybe later. You know, there's two totally different expressions. One saying, hey, we're poor, and the other saying we're broke right now, but maybe later we'll have the money and we can still get it. And then the kid who grows up with that, if they hear, hey, we can't afford it, they're going to grow up saying, hey, well, we're poor. We're too poor for that. I might as well not ask anymore, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not going to ask for anything ever again because I know we're too poor. And maybe that's not the case, but now that's where their mentality's at.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
so maybe this guy who's arguing with me, he's like, hey, I might as well ask. But me, in my mentality, is like, hey, man, that's rude. You're being rude right now, asking for all this other stuff. Like, get out of my car. I already did you the favor. Now you're being rude. You know?
Yeah.
Like, the whole mentality of the hitchhiker is like, first of all, I think it takes a certain type of person to just hitchhike in general. Like, for some people, it's like, if I don't have a car or a ride with somebody I know, then I'm not going. And then there's a whole other group of people who are like, oh, I don't have a ride. I don't know anybody who's going that way. I better get on the road as soon as possible so I can catch a ride. You know what I mean? Yeah. Or they're like other people I know where they're just like, I'm going to start walking. If I get a ride, I get a ride. If I don't get a ride, fuck it. You know?
Yeah.
So there's this whole thing going on there. So, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe this guy who wanted me to pick up his girlfriend and go get some beer was just asking. But now that I think about it, he wouldn't take no at all. And that's a whole other mentality. It's like, oh, I hear you say no, but I think you want to say yeah.
You got me thinking of, like, It's kind of like you said, like the gesture in hitchhiking is being, I think it's a nice gesture, like to see that someone is needing transportation and you're stepping up to bat to get them there.
Yeah.
Whether it's the direction they're going or you're willing to maybe go out of your way a little bit just to get them closer to where they need to be.
Yeah.
But then to kind of be like, I guess, kind of stepping past those, almost like, let me see if I can take advantage of this act of kindness, or I got my foot in the door, I might just kind of just lay it all on the table. But I guess it's what's maybe bothering or annoying about it is, like you say, you're doing something nice for somebody. I guess like a friendly act, being a friend, or being a friendly human being to say, you're going in that direction, I'm going in that direction, I can take you as far as I can take you. But to kind of, and I've been kind of like tweaking this, and I think we brought it up in other podcasts, where there's a difference between having friends and being friendly. Like, I think sometimes you have to put your foot down and be like, nah, this ain't happening, because I don't even know you like that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times hitchhiking, there's this element of like, I don't know you, and it doesn't get any details of, I guess, our past or whatever. So for someone to kind of be overstepping that boundary of already a stranger doing a friendly act, a kind act, giving you a ride to a place closer than you were before.
Yeah.
And you're taking advantage of that and almost seeing, what else can I get from this? And yeah, so I think that's something we all have to kind of understand. It's like, not everybody's your friend.
Yeah.
And you don't have to just bow down to anybody, but I think sometimes people will take advantage of people that are nice or that want to do something kind.
Yeah.
Like you said, almost make them not want to be kind.
Yeah.
Because they had a bad experience before, so.
Yeah, I think there's this correlation between the psychology of the person who picks up hitchhikers and the person who gets picked up. The hiker, the hitcher. The hitcher and the hiker, it's like there's, first of all, you got to be willing to be the person that picks people up, and then on the other hand, you got to be a certain type of person who thinks it's okay to take that chance and try to catch a ride with strangers.
Mm.
And for me, it was like, a lot of those times where it gets kind of nasty, it's like, all right, look, I've done you this kindness. Now would you get out of my car? And I even think in that situation when that guy asked for more, it was like,
it was his approach. He was being real pushy about it, and at that point, I was like, "Hey, I just want you out of my car now. I don't want to help you anymore. It was a mistake picking you up because I didn't know you were like this." But again, it's the roll of the dice, you know. It's like,
yeah.
And I was rolling the dice, like I was the person rolling the dice. You know, I made that call, and like. I was feeling charitable when I picked him up. You know, I was like, I'm going to help this person out. I've been there. Maybe that's really the key here is like, because I've hitchhiked, I know what it's like to watch the cars. You know, there's all these cars going by, but I'm standing on the side of the road, sweat rolling down the crack of my ass, and I'm like, please, it's July in Arizona, would you please? I don't have a ride, but I do need to get here. Can you please, you know, I'm holding my thumb up and shaking in the heat. You know, like, please, pick me up. You know, can I get a ride? And you hope to hell that they freaking, I hope they'll pick. And then when the roles reversed, it's like, man, I know how bad it is. How, you know, sometimes you got a bum knee or like you tripped and fell and now you're limping and it's like, I hope somebody picks me up, you know? Yeah. And since I've been on the other end of that, it's like, man, I pick people up because I hope the next time I'm hitchhiking, somebody picks me up. You know?
Yeah. And I think that's what it was when, like, being an adult. I remember, like, I think this is when maybe my early adult years.
Yeah.
Where it was like, I got a car. These guys need a ride. It's like, almost like a pay it forward kind of feeling where, like, hey, I remember needing a ride. Cause, and I also get memories of my mom working in sales and her coworker needing a ride, and so like that was our part of our morning is we would like scoop her we would get ready and scoop her coworker, and then I remember coming back home, like they would be back with us again.
Yeah.
And sometimes they would get groceries, and it was just, I guess, being an adult, it was kind of like, oh, now it's my turn to give the ride and to step up. But in all the stuff you're talking about, I kind of learned that later.
Yeah.
And even in the movies, they make it look so easy. Like they don't show the part where the guy's saying, "Hey, can you just drive me just a little bit more?" You know?
Yeah.
And, that's not. I don't know. I think that would be an interesting thing in a movie, but it's not a part. Anyways, I'm just saying, like. I don't know what I'm saying, man.
You're getting in it, yeah. What I'm hearing is you grew up as hitchhiking being part of your experience.
Mm-hmm.
And giving people rides.
Yeah, okay, so I think being a younger adult, it was sort of cool to give somebody a ride, but as you know, you get older and you realize there's a negotiation and smells. You know,
smells and bad experiences.
Yeah, so there's all these other things that make you not want to.
Yeah, factors that suddenly change that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's why I brought up the old man. Like my old man, it's like I grew up as part of a family that picks people up.
my mom, my dad. I'm saying my dad did it more, and maybe my mom started doing it because of my dad. Like, she's from the East Coast up in Ohio, and you know, I'm sure there's hitchhiking going on there, but I don't get the impression that she's entirely open to hitchhikers. And maybe it's because she's a woman. Maybe, like, you know, there's that extra added danger of picking up a strange man. You know, we didn't really talk about that. And then there's like, so I don't know. Like, there are these dangers. There's, you know, like I said, there's a roll of the dice. But like, my mentality, like I said, was shaped by my dad. It's like it was a nice thing to do. You're doing someone a favor. Like, oh man, let's make it so that old man doesn't have to walk. Or hey, pick him up. There was a time in my family where we picked up every hitchhiker we saw. You know, or at least on the res, it was like, oh, there's somebody walking, pick him up, pick him up.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Pick him up.
Yeah, so I grew up going, you know, leading by example is what my parents did. So I grew up, even before I had a car, I'm like, man, that's cool. And when I was still young, I would hitchhike. I used to go to the gate, and I would hitchhike. I didn't have a car, but I knew I wanted some booze or, you know, just to go on the weekend to the gate. So it's like, hey, we'd say gate days, and then me and my buddies would meet up on the road, and we'd just start hitchhiking. We start mobbing, and like I said, that kind of shaped it too. It's like, man, I would hope anybody would pick us up and take us the rest of the way, because we didn't want to do the hiking part. But a lot of times we'd just be with our backpacks with old VCRs and, you know, a nice pair of shoes and freaking extension cord or freaking tire. We're going to the gate to try to trade for some booze. And the only way to get there was a hitchhike, you know? And so there was those experiences. It's like, man, so I grew up as charitable. I grew up hitchhiking, so then I was like, man, when I get a car, I'll pick people up. And then I come across those few people you wish you didn't pick up. And I'll tell you, out of all three of those experiences, the worst, the more influential were the bad experiences that affect whether or not I pick somebody up now.
Yeah.
And like, all right, so we're at the 2-hour mark, and I kind of wanted to bring this up. I keep thinking of George Carlin on Jay and Silent Bob, where he holds up the sign. He's like, "You're doing it all wrong," and he holds up a sign and it says, "We'll give head for a ride," or something like that. He's just like, it's in the unwritten book of the road. But in college, he's like, yeah, but don't they kick you out when you don't make with the head? He's like, yeah, well, if you don't make with the head, sure. You know, like, the unwritten book of the road. And I'm also thinking about, I wanted to bring it up before we cut off here, was, you know that sign when you're driving past a prison that says "Don't pick up hitchhikers"? I was thinking about that too. Like, hey, what's with the orange jumpsuit, buddy?
Yeah, I was thinking of the Cheech and Chong, where
he looks like a chick.
Yeah, he's dressed as a chick, and then that's false advertising because he really thinks it's a chick. And starts bringing all his drums, and he's like, hey, you know, he's all fucking pissed. all let down. He's like, that's the only way you can get him to stop.
Yeah. First gear, second gear, third gear. Yeah.
Well, thinking of the Detroit Rock City.
Oh yeah. It's like, man. What do you say? It's a teenage girl walking on the side of the road. It's like, they make scary movies that start out like that. Go for it.
And they make porn that start out like that too, or something like that. But yeah, that was always premise in like Friday the 13th or
hell yeah,
Michael Myers, like break down someone needing a ride or
Jesus,
car overheats.
I'm also thinking of something about Mary. 7-minute abs. So no, not 8 minutes, not 6 minutes, 7. You won't even break a sweat. 7-minute abs. Step into my office. Why? Because you're fucking fired. And then it turns out he had a dead body with him the whole time. He's this raging murderer. Yeah.
Damn. I need to watch that one.
Wait a minute. Oh, I think we've had this conversation before. You haven't seen something about Mary.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it. I just feel like I just kind of slept through it.
Yeah. Well, Jesus. Well, there's this whole line. They're all trying to, like, figure out what happened to the dead bodies. Like, what, the hitchhiker? And he's talking about the guy who brought the dead body. And it's like, oh, you know, they're like, why'd you do it, kid? He's like, what, why'd I pick up the hitchhiker? They're like, yeah, why'd you do it? And he's like, well, you know, I was kind of feeling bored, feeling a little adventurous. And he's talking about, you know, picking up hitchhikers. And they're wondering why he killed somebody, which he didn't. But he's like, well, I was a little tired. I was getting kind of sleepy at the wheel, and I thought maybe a conversation would help. I was feeling a little adventurous. You know, I know it's illegal to pick up hitchhikers in this state. Yeah. I'm getting loopy, bro. So let's do, huh?
Yeah, bring it back.
Let's do some final words I want to hear, like, now that we've had this conversation on picking up ghosts and shitty pantsed people and, you know, renegotiating, like, verbal contracts at the last second.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this. Do you still pick people up? Have you done it lately?
Yeah, kinda. I did pick up one, but it was a relative. I kind of knew generally where they were going.
Yeah.
Wasn't like a complete. Well, I don't want to say stranger, but just, you know, someone I don't know and I don't know where they're going.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, one of my relatives I saw they needed a ride and, you know, just naturally all right, well, let's get in, you know. It's not really like hitchhiking as far as I saw them on the road. It was just, I knew they needed a ride, and they were at my work, and yeah, let's go. But I feel like really that's just rest, like, you know, like, you know, when my mom lived in Kayenta, you know, like the Navajo reservation. They have a lot of highways, too.
Yeah.
Between the towns and the communities.
Yeah.
And you will see people hitchhiking.
A lot?
Yeah. And
up in Navajo country, huh?
And it was just, you know, like I mean, I just saw it like how it was on our res, like just someone was trying to get to the next spot, or they knew there was something popping off in the village next door, and they need to get there. You know, just it's still a form of transportation, but I think with COVID and
Oh God, COVID.
And just kind of being like more like isolated. I think I'm not picking up hitchhikers as much if ever. You know?
Yeah.
It just seems like. But even prior to COVID, it was sometimes it's almost like I need to know. I guess almost like if I know you, the better chance I'll give you a ride. But
yeah,
like I said, you could give somebody a ride that, you know, maybe they want to go further than what they said, or they actually give you the detour and have other stuff for you to do. But I think the biggest faux pas in hitchhiking is maybe passing out, falling asleep, and you don't know where they're going, you don't know where they live, and they're just asleep in your car.
Jesus.
I want to say that has happened, but like I feel like there was a time where hitchhiking was like more prevalent. Like now, I don't. Well, I mean, just in my world, I'm not. It doesn't seem like I'm picking up hitchhikers as much as you know.
Well, when you were talking about isolated, I was thinking about the TO Res versus Navajo Nation, the TO Nation. We're kind of isolated. Like, we're on the edge of the country. There's only like one freaking major highway going through there. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't really go anywhere but Ajo and maybe Mexico, right? So it's a very small, well, it's isolated. And then you go to Navajo Nation, that's like the middle of 4 different states, like almost right on the intersection. Well, it is, in the intersection of 4 different states. And I'm pretty sure there's tons of highways going all through there.
Yeah.
So, like, a hitchhiker, like, say a hitchhiker here on the res, you're a lot more likely to pick up another TO. On the res in Navajo country, you might get a Navajo, maybe a Pima, maybe an Apache, like, or maybe just any old other person rolling on those highways. So, like, I'd be a little more weary about doing that. Like that just sounds...
Wait. Hitchhiking or picking up a hitchhiker?
Picking up hitchhikers. I don't think you'll ever catch me in Navajo country hitchhiking. I don't think. Like, I don't want to knock on wood or something here, but as far as I know, I'm keeping it local here.
Well, maybe that's the adventure we're talking about. Just go hitchhiking on other reses.
Damn, just for fun, huh? Maybe I should hitchhike from California back to Tucson yourselves.
Maybe, but I think with that, you kind of know your own. So, like, oh, hey, this guy is probably going to, I don't know, Kansas or something.
Yeah.
Or Payson, or I don't know, just, there's so many different towns out there that I would see people just on the road, like, hitchhiking. Yeah. But it wasn't, like, odd. It was almost like, again, it was a form of transportation. Like, it's, I don't know. It's like it's almost like there should be another definition to it.
Huh. Well, I think that'll be for another episode here, Sky. Do you have? We need to wrap this up because I think the longer I'm out here in the car, the less likely I'm going to get back into the hotel here. Do you have any final words, either to hitchhikers or people who pick up hitchhikers?
I would just say keep trucking.
To both of them, right? To both the hitcher and the hiker. Oh God.
To the adventure of the road.
Keep on trucking. I was gonna say more shit, but I think that just kind of says it right there. Keep on trucking. All right, I like that. I'll just say that if you're gonna be hitching, be careful. If you're gonna be hitching if you're gonna be picking people up or hitchhiking, be careful, be wary, be aware, know your exits, and in general, let's stick to the contract here. The verbal contract. Let's stick to it. If you say you're gonna get off somewhere or you're gonna drive somebody, stick to that. Don't poke and prod. And I know, and the more I think about me and my sister's conversation, the mentality of if you don't ask, you won't receive.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that, but again, I see it as a charitable thing, maybe even a civil service. It's like, I've already given you charity. Don't take advantage of it, and don't burden me with more than what you originally asked for.
Yeah.
It's a burden beyond that. I got places to go. I didn't come on the road looking for a hitchhiker. I'm on the road on my way somewhere.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't want you in my car all the way there. I'm not inviting you to go to Tucson with me. I'm just trying to give you a ride. So, don't, and think about the person who obviously you were picked up by somebody who picks up hitchhikers. Don't ruin it for don't ruin this pick-upper person for the next hitchhiker,
Yeah.
Let's be a little more than ourselves here. Don't get greedy, Can you say anything else on top of that, Sky?
I don't know, man.
Keep on.
Just guys, be again, it's both sides to it. I'm trying to think of something that just addresses both.
I think you already nailed it.
Yeah, no,
Go ahead.
I don't know, man. The road is full of tails. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Okay.
Shut it off, man.
Shut it off. Hit the button.
Just turn it off.
I think we're just making noises to hear ourselves talk now. All right. Yeah. Everybody, thank you for tuning in to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode or maybe taking something from it. Thank you for tuning in to the Natives in America podcast and listening to the Reservation Radio Network. As I said, my name is Benjamin Juan, and Sky, my co-host, is Sky Anto.
Yeah.
So, peace out, everybody. Peace.
Good stuff.
Keep on trucking. Red button here.